It's that time of the week where we lick our wounds from DraftKings, FanDuel, Underdog, DFS. We hop back into the world of best ball to talk about how the teams are doing, how the top players are doing, and what players are we missing out on in our lineups. Of course, Devin Achane going to be a big conversation point today. I'm Chris Spags. Today we're going to go through my portfolio. We're going to talk about it all. This is your best ball review show as we head into week 4. Let's talk about the top players here to start it off. Of course, going to be some guys here on the Dolphins. I feel like every thumbnail that comes out this week is going to be the Dolphins. I've been seeing it. Obviously, I put one on here. I'll tell you what, the video I'm going to do tomorrow for the Spags rankings, I think another Dolphin on there. The Dolphins are the story of best ball. And it's hard for me because this is a thing that I've thought this entire offseason. I've said on the stream that I thought Dolphins double stacks, even though in the beginning of Best Ball Mania drafting seemed a little bit chalky. Didn't think that that was the outlier offense last year, the team that portended the most about what they were going to do for fantasy. This year, they're an even better version of it, putting up 70 points. That is something I do in Madden on the regular. That is not something NFL coaches do on the regular, as you've seen by some of the reaction to Mike McDaniels there, but definitely going to be a lot of Dolphins representation, including here at number 1, top fantasy player, according to half point PPR, Raheem Mostert, number 1 on the year, which is honestly kind of surprised. Speaks as much to how you can get a 12-point game in here, a mid-game. And if you have 2 outlier positive games, that's enough at this point. And again, also really speaks as well to all offseason. People have talked about the ADPs, talked about, hey, running backs are so tempting up early. There's so many great guys you can grab. You can grab Breece Hall. You can grab Austin Eckler. You can get all these guys for so cheap. Nick Chubb, we won't victory lap because it's sad what happened to him. Point being, though, you could have Raheem Mostert and have the top scoring player in all of fantasy right now. That's the case there. Tyreek coming in at number 2 overall. Keenan Allen, number 3. I will say right now, Keenan Allen, I'm going to hold the football for this to support myself in this time of need. I fucked up. I did not take enough Keenan Allen. I believed a lot in the Chargers offense. The plus side for me, and again, another injury downer. Mike Williams with the ACL tear. That is a pretty sad thing. I don't need the fantasy football counselor jerking myself off about it. I said, hey, don't draft this guy in the 5th round. He always gets hurt. Jerry and the fantasy football counselor, not that far off as far as the character voices go. Point being, I don't want to victory lap that. I do think, though, that is your one bailout, is that there's going to be a lot of Keenan Allen double stacks out there with Mike Williams now being gone for the year. Obviously, Mike Williams put up a really great point total before he goes out, but definitely one of those things where the Chargers full stacks going to be a little bit tougher to get there, perhaps. People who took a one off Keenan Allen maybe going to look a little bit better. And guys like Quentin Johnson, I got to tell you, I really thought would get at least a shot at some work. And if he did get work, I thought he would make an occasional big play. He has done absolutely nothing so far. So this is his chance to do something more. It does feel like Josh Palmer more secure in a role, but Quentin Johnson can get in the mix now. So that is one thing that'll help my bags overall, even though it is sad, of course. Anytime a player goes down, like I don't want to be the one that's like, aha, I'm the one profiting off of this. Like it's just not the best feeling in the world. Shout out to Chad as well. Appreciate all you guys being here. GM Squirt Squad. How's it going, Spags? My only top 10,000 team has 2 at Tyreek and Mostert. Dolphins been unreal so far. That's definitely going to be the case. I'll say for myself, I got absolutely fucking smoked yesterday to the point that like I ended up doing, as you can see with this fancy thumbnail, I was playing on Canva from roughly 10 p.m. to like 1:30 a.m. last night because of how smoked I got in DFS, where I was like, I got to make some fucking graphics or something, man. I got to, because money's not coming from DFS right now. So that's the headspace I'm in, which is why I think the best ball show here being on Tuesdays does feel pretty good. Rest of the top 10, we got Kirk Cousins. Midday for Kirk Cousins, but still gets to 26.7 points. Of course, that game against the Chargers ends up shooting out despite starting a little bit slower. Justin Herbert coming in at number 5, 2 and number 6. Jordan Love, number 7. Number 8, Patrick Mahomes. So you're seeing a lot of QBs up here and 1 wide receiver. So if you are looking for outliers in terms of your portfolio, if you have a lot of Raheem Mostert, a lot of Keenan Allen, and that's driving all your success, that's great. But also, once those guys start to come down a little bit more, you are going to see perhaps Raheem Mostert and Keenan Allen teams start to surge back, because a lot of teams are probably getting carried directly by Keenan Allen and Raheem Mostert. So if you're over the field on those guys and you're like, wow, I'm advancing so much, this is why you're advancing so much, because these guys are legit top 3 players, better than every QB, better than every running back, better than every receiver. Christian McCaffrey in at number 9, Justin Jefferson in at number 10 overall, and Devontae Adams with a monster game to close out the week. Not enough to get him into the top 10, but there's your overall rankings. QB top 10. Let's do it. Of course, looking at half point PPR here. Underdog going to be different, but that doesn't matter too much. Top 10 at QB, Kirk Cousins. I'm surprised that Tua is not a little bit higher. Obviously, it was not a gangbusters week 2 for him, but Tua, I'll tell you when we do that Spags rankings video tomorrow, and we will do that. That'll be the video I do before I take a day off to go handle some family business that we talked about yesterday on Thursday. But tomorrow, Spags rankings, Tua is going to be the apex predator once again. Like, he is the best player in the league. Now, that won't always correlate to fantasy success, especially if you do have games where they do run the ball more, or just the Dolphins do barely enough to win, which is going to happen sometimes when they are playing, let's say, Miami, or when they're playing the Patriots, rather, when they're playing the Jets. You expect Tua to maybe not have outlier performances there, but Tua still, with one really bad game, a top 3 QB, I think that bodes really well. Jordan Love at number 4 is honestly kind of a surprise for me. Definitely think he's been good. Did not think he was 20 points per game good so far. I was a big believer in Jordan Love. You could see kind of both sides of these bets we make in the offseason and how they go for me. Big believer in Jordan Love. Big believer in Kenny Pickett. One of those working out really well. One of those looking really bad. So I think those will kind of level out over the course of the year. But Jordan Love, to me, once he gets Christian Watson back out there, that's another major weapon. Aaron Jones being back in the mix, another major weapon. I don't think there's anywhere to go but up for Jordan Love. But I think he can maintain this. Like, these are some not pretty matchups he's had so far to start the year. Some really not pretty game scripts as well that he's had to start the year. And to still be getting 20 points per game, I think should feel pretty good. Kenny should steam back up, hopefully. I mean, really tough couple matchups for Kenny Pickett, but still, I would like to see more from him. I mean, I think we've seen a little bit in terms of the plays that he made against, well, not so much against the Niners, but in week 2, making the big throw to George Pickens. That looks good. But he should have beaten up on the Raiders. And I think that's where I'm starting to get a little bit of concern for Pickett. The Raiders are a little better than they were last year. Last year, they were a team that you could pretty much target at any position and get some efficacy going. This year, you know, they're a little bit better, but still, like, Kenny Pickett should be able to get something going in a game where Jimmy Garoppolo actually looks like an efficient QB. Pickett is not an efficient QB right now. He takes some bad sacks. He doesn't force the ball to guys that he should be forcing the ball to, Pickens in particular. So that's going to make it pretty tough overall. Rest of the top 10 at QB, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson here, Josh Allen at number 8, Russell Wilson, Jared Goff. One guy, I mean, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, these guys are all going to come up a little bit, but this to me was why you didn't want to go elite QB. Mahomes at 5, Hurts at 6, Allen at 8. The draft capital you use to get these guys in best ball was so much higher than their likelihood of being the, the number 1, 2, 3 QBs, at least, for most stretches of the year. At the end of the year, will these guys be closer? Will they be maybe 3, 4, 5? Possibly. But if all these younger gunslingers, if all these guys like Herbert with a new offense, Tua with a year, hopefully of full health for him, Kirk Cousins in an offense where the team, you got to ask the questions about the Vikings' motivations moving forward, because they could be getting close to a tanking team at some point. But Kirk, though, if he's going to be out there for all 17 weeks, I mean, this offense, pass rate over expectation, one of the highest marks in the league. The run game not really coming through meaningfully yet, even though Madison had one of his best games. Just feels like a spot where there were lower drafted players that could beat the elite QBs, if not week to week, over the course of an entire year potentially. And I think that's something that to me was always why I ended up at, I think, 4% of all the elite QBs. I just didn't see the move. And I do think, if you took an elite QB, you might have passed on Keenan Allen. You might have passed on some of these guys, Tony Pollard potentially in some rooms, guys that actually would have mattered for your team every week. And I think that's a pretty tough one overall. Wilson and at number 9 is pretty surprising. Jared Goff at number 10, pretty surprising. And of course, our poor boy, where's Anthony Richardson? Richardson only playing 2 games down to QB 26. That bums me out just to lose the one game. I want the equity of him being a QB 10 with at least QB 1 upside week to week. And hopefully R will get back out there. No risk of him losing his job to Gardner Minshew, who just kind of a guy keeping the things running on time for the most part. Joe Burrow in at number 30. That's got to feel awful. Joe Burrow, Bengals bag's looking tough. It's going to get better, you would think, but still for right now with where we are in the season, I think you have to have some concern if you really stacked up the Bengals. Of course, they're going to have explosive weeks. We saw Jamar Chase have a good week yesterday. T. Higgins dropped so many balls in that game. I think T. Higgins is really affected by the contract stuff hanging over him, but the Bengals are going to have better weeks, but enough to dig Joe Burrow out of the QB 30 and get into the top 5. Kind of hard to say with how bad he's looking with his calf. Eric Eager, who used to be at PFF, now is at Sumer Sports, tweeted yesterday that if you're saying 100% healthy Joe Burrow versus Patrick Mahomes, that's a pretty close competition. 75% healthy Joe Burrow versus Patrick Mahomes, that's not close. And I do tend to agree with that. Like Mahomes, we see making play after play when he's been hurt, including in the Super Bowl last year. Joe Burrow's got this calf strain. He can't move around. He's not as explosive getting downfield. The targets, the ball's coming out fast. If the plays are there right away, he's able to make something happen. But he's not the same Joe Burrow banged up. And I think that is kind of a point of concern if you are a heavy Joe Burrow guy. Though could be worse. You could be Trevor Lawrence. I guess we'll talk about Trevor Lawrence, by the way. The Spags rankings tomorrow, of course. The superior players, the great spots go top right. The bad players, the mid spots go bottom left. Trevor Lawrence, bottom left. Bottom left again. We'll find out tomorrow. Top running backs, Raheem Mostert, Christian McCaffrey, Kenneth Walker at number 3. This is another one that I think is starting to move more in my direction, but I was not in on Kenneth Walker. Really thought he was going to lose a meaningful role to Zach Charbonnet. In week 3, it was about a 48% share each for those guys at running back. So I think we're getting closer to what I wanted to see. But Walker's looking good. The involvement in the pass game, too, is like a major move for him. I don't expect him to hold up running back 3. I think he probably gets closer to a mid-tier running back 1 to 2. For right now, Walker's another guy. Walker, Keenan Allen, those are guys that I was out on for just, having not the younger. Like Zach Charbonnet is barely younger than Kenneth Walker. He actually might be the same age. But Charbonnet coming in with high rookie draft capital, I thought that meant bad news for Kenneth Walker. Keenan Allen was old. Those are 2 that I wish I had back. And that's where the player takes can get you. That's where a guy like Pete, of course, my podcast partner, Pete Overzet, of course, doing still his streams over on his channel, doing a great job. He's, definitely somebody who's a little more agnostic, where if the player's there, he's going to take him, and it's all about the overall construct of the build. That is one thing where certainly if you have the player takes, you can avoid some guys that are absolute landmines. And then sometimes you're also just going to avoid players that you have a reason to avoid them. It doesn't fully work out. And then you end up going like, fuck, why did I avoid that? Like, you still fit the other things I look at, still a positive EPA player, still that stuff. So for Keenan Allen in particular, that's the case. For Kenneth Walker, he's not the most efficient guy still. Tony Pollard in at number 4, Devon Achane. So his name now is Devon Achane. So Devon Achane, got to recondition our brain to say his name the way he wants to be said. One good game, literally one great game. I mean, it's a historic game, really. But one great game. He's now the 5th running back on the year. So that shows you too. I think, to me, that does speak a little bit to my offseason thesis of what we've talked about, where running backs are kind of becoming tight ends, but, a little more efficient than that. And with still some elite players, maybe a little more elite than the tight ends have. I think that's what running back is. And I think that's why you get your spike week from an Achane here. And that's going to be something that, can carry the entire year like it did for TJ Hawkinson until he got traded to the Vikings. He had that 150-point game going against Seattle when everybody was out for the Lions, gets traded, goes to the Vikings, had some more good weeks on top of that. But that 50-point week basically was all he gave you in the beginning in his Lions stint. And that was enough to have it a tight end that actually that mattered for you. I think for Achane as well, again, did you draft him? Got to ask that question for yourself. I know I did, and I know he's carrying a lot of my teams on DraftKings in particular. Kyron Williams still at number 6. The usage here certainly looking pretty good. Last night was not a good showing for him, but wasn't really a good showing for anything Rams related. Just Matthew Stafford, that's kind of the game I expected to see from the Rams a lot more. Matthew Stafford just in the pocket, getting fucking smashed. Just, I don't mean to like reenact it, but it was just every time he's standing back, he's holding the ball, and then he just gets smoked. And you're like, and if he's down on the floor for more than like 2 seconds, you're like, oh God, is his spine just broken? That was how I felt about that. So the Rams, I know the Rams, the early season, story that everybody's excited to see, besides the Dolphins being the Harlem Globetrotters, basically, I would worry about the Rams a little bit. I think we saw what a competent defense can do against them. Obviously, they had success against the Niners, but once the Niners see them again, I'll tell you, I don't think they're going to have the same success. And I think that's going to be the case for a lot of times how the Rams play. We got Brian Robinson still at number 7. Again, another 0 RB guy. James Conner, another 0 RB guy at number 8. Bijan Robinson, top drafted running back. He, of course, doing pretty well, though a bad week 3 with just 8 fantasy points here in half-point PPR. And Jerome Ford at number 10. Another guy, too, DeAndre Swift. I do have a good amount of him in best ball. Feel okay about that. DFS, though, he absolutely murdered me last night. I was buying in on the Gainwell Swift split. Obviously, that was an angle to play on a 2-game slate. And the ETR guys were on it, too, so I don't feel that bad about it. But Swift, man, looking good. Swift looks like the best runner in that backfield. And Rashad Penny looks like he's just not a character. He's not even a character in the play. He's not even an NPC. He's not even in the video game. He's just nowhere to be seen. So he needs an injury at this point, if not 2 injuries, to really get in the mix. And that doesn't feel great for my Rashad Penny bags at all. Wide receivers, top 10. Let's talk about them. GM Squirt Squad. We talking broken backs. How's the Sex Kelly? I'm really tired of, and I'm certainly affected by being in a house where my wife is a big Taylor Swift fan, always plays Taylor Swift. My baby was born to shake it off. That was an automatically generated thing from a randomized playlist. I hear enough about Taylor Swift. The fact that now every football person is talking about Taylor Swift, and then they're also like sucking up to the Swifties about Taylor Swift and going like, oh, when the Taylor Swift fans figure out football, they're going to be beating too high coverages. That's like, oh, I can't escape it. And it's driving me nuts. Amidst a lot of things that are driving me nuts currently. That is one of them that is tops. And I'm not one of those people that mutes words on Twitter or whatever. Fucking, I just, Taylor Swift ate chicken fingers, guys. She ate chicken fingers with ketchup and ranch. You see that at the game? I can't stand it. I'm tired of it. Thank you. And like the stream, every like helps Spags grow an inch where it counts. Yes, yeah, that's what I appreciate here. I've gotten at least 6 or 7 likes in my day. I'll tell you what. Tyreek Hill, top receivers here. Tyreek, number 1. Of course, that is not surprising here, even with, again, that down week versus the Patriots. The upside here, again, I think I'm putting Tyreek on the Spags rankings thumbnail tomorrow. He's so fucking good, man. And I talked about Amon-Ra St. Brown being a late round guy who I thought could beat Justin Jefferson. I don't think I said enough at how I believe about Tyreek being potentially a wide receiver 1 as well. I thought that Cooper Kupp, I thought they were, in some respects, plays that I liked more than Jamar Chase. I'm not the biggest Jamar Chase guy, but I didn't get him anyway. I wasn't getting 102, so that's fine. But Tyreek in this offense, man, like he is just in open field every time he's getting targeted. Like there's nobody around him. And then even still, like, you know, I know the Broncos matchup scared some people's off. Patrick Surtain, the shutdown corner, has been so great. I warned you guys, like, hey, don't do that. On Stochastic too, I mentioned that I was like very heavy on Tyreek compared to Justin Jefferson, just because of the game theory part of that. But also, like, people fear these cornerback matchups so much. And if you're great, you're getting open regardless. If you're great and you're well coached, you're going to get even more open. And I think that's where Tyreek is right now, where no team can stop him. No team can press him. No team can do anything to keep him at bay. The only thing that keeps him at bay really is like Jalen Waddle going off and being back in the game, or if Mostert and Achane are just going to run all over everybody. That is what keeps Tyreek down. But it's not Tyreek himself. He is, I don't know what stops him besides just like really good schematic defenses and low scoring games. So Patriots again, Jets regressing a little bit in a lot of the stuff that they were great at last year. That's stuff you worry about. But for Tyreek, man, like if you get him in a trade for something, if you're in a season-long league, do that. For best ball, wish I had even more than I have. But certainly Tyreek looking like a great player, and one I think at this point, I feel like you might have wanted to take over Jamar Chase. But yeah, that's obviously short-term stuff. We'll see. Keenan Allen in a number 2. Shout out to Charlie, fast forwarding all my podcasts when they get Swift Talk. I did see on Reddit that the Bill Simmons podcast, I guess, had their guy who used to be the Ticketmaster guy, Nathan Hubbard, I think his name is, who does the Taylor Swift podcast. And all the Bill Simmons fans were like, that is the worst segment that podcast has ever had. And I now wish I were still listening to Bill Simmons on the regular, because I would like to hear how bad that was, because his interviews when they're slogging around, or he's like too excited about something you don't care about, just the worst. So if you want to cringe a little bit, if you are on my page just being tired of hearing about this, listen to Bill Simmons and you can cringe along. Justin Jefferson at number 3. You know, got to think that the consistency here is the main thing. He is more of a floor ceiling player than probably any receiver you'll have. Obviously, Tyreek, the ceiling at this point looks a little bit bigger. I don't think that's going to always stay the case, but just getting 19 to 20 every week from Justin Jefferson, like that feels good. So he still, to me, was worth the 101, because again, you're not likely to have a lot of these 12.5 weeks. We'll see how it goes as teams, start to bracket him more. But honestly, they've been covering Justin Jefferson a lot of the ways that he failed at last year, where the bracket coverage again, kind of having one guy on top, one guy underneath, both of them trying to clamp him down in the middle. That stopped him in a lot of games last year. This year, every team is doing that, and he's still gashing them. So I think Jefferson has taken a leap there. And to me, still, he and Tyreek, I think both kind of live for 2,000 receiving yards on the year. Devontae Adams in at number 4, Mike Evans at number 5. Evans, another one I do have some regrets on, just because he is a better and best ball guy. Some debate I saw in Pete's Deposit Kingdom Discord yesterday talking about guys being like, oh, Mike Evans is inconsistent, but he's not really. He's always kind of a guy in best ball where you're going to get some weeks out of him. And best ball, like Mike Evans, should always be a guy you're targeting. I really just didn't believe in the Bucs very much. I think last night has cemented the reasons why I didn't believe in the Bucs. The issue with the Bucs, though, is that they're really well coached. Dave Canales is a guy who comes from Seattle and was a guy that I didn't have the highest esteem for. Maybe I should have. Anytime you see like a hunky dude taking over an offensive coordinator, like I think, and also like the previous team at offensive success, I think you just follow that guy. Like anytime hunky dude, or at least like interesting looking dude like Mike McDaniel takes over an offense and then comes from another good team, just back that offense seems to be the thesis I would go with, because I have not yet seen a good looking dude who comes from a good team fail yet. I don't know why that is, but I'm just playing it out there. It's not a real data point, but it is one that I think if you dig into the numbers, you'll find some fact to. Hunky dude, bet, profit. That is that's what the new metagame of football is. It's not about running backs. It's not about contracts. It's about how sexy is the guy who is coming in as offensive coordinator and what he do at his last spot. I will go off of that. Deebo Samuel at number 6. That one kind of surprises me. Nice week 3. Do you think when Brandon Ayuk gets in the mix, Deebo's games become a little more scattershot? Obviously, George Kittle getting the mix more would certainly hurt him too. But Deebo holding it at number 6 looks pretty good. He's another guy that I'm definitely under on. Puka Nacua at number 7. His first game under 10 points. I think there's going to be more of that. I do think that once Cooper Kupp comes back in, it's just not going to be great for Puka. He'll still have some spike weeks here and there, but it's just like he basically needs 15 targets, 10 to 15 targets to get there every single game. And I don't think that's going to be the case as this offense starts to find its feet more, or if it just struggles more like it did last night. Puka didn't have a great game there, had a couple errant passes his way, a couple semi-drops, I guess we could say. But still, Puka holding it at number 7 feels pretty good for an 18th or 20th round pick, depending on what site you're drafting on. Stephon Diggs at number 8. Adam Thielen. This is one that I guess there's a logic to it. I just don't know how you make this bet and feel good about it. I guess the logic would be if we're going to take this bet in the future on an Adam Thielen type, it's that you take an older wide receiver who they're going a lot of signal about, hey, we're going to move him in the slot. And that's the one thing that can extend these guys' careers. But then for Allen Robinson, like Allen Robinson hasn't been that useful and he's getting that same treatment in the Steelers. But still, like for Thielen, the PPR obviously looking even better on DraftKings. He is a guy I think I have like 2 shares of across everything. I think the age bias thing is still mostly correct. But for a guy like Thielen just coming into an offense with nothing, I think that maybe there's a little more fluidity to that than a little more nuance to it than I gave and a lot of people in this industry gave throughout the offseason. But Thielen, to me, looking like a semi-steal, at least for now, but still a guy that can break down over the course of the year, still a guy that I don't know, supplants him. They don't seem to like Terrace Marshall very much. Mingo has looked as bad as I thought Mingo would look, and I've said all offseason, did not like him, but the draft capital makes you take him. For Thielen, like he's the best receiver there. And frankly, the longer Andy Dalton starts, the better for him, because Bryce Young is not ready for prime time and frankly looks terrified out there. Like I know the Panthers fans will always push back if I post a social media post about Bryce Young. He looks like shit. He looks like he is a little boy who is like, he looks like a kid who got called up from high school and they're like, all right, man, you played really well against Alabama U prep. whatever a high school would be named. You guys know you played well against this high school. Yeah, give it a shot. Play for the Panthers one week. That's what he looks like out there, where he like clearly knows what he's doing, but is just terrified to pull the trigger. And that is not what you want in a QB who already has some obvious physical flaws. So to me, Adam Thielen is going to be better the longer than Andy Dalton stays at that position. Tank Dell at number 10, bit of a surprise as well. Tank Dell, another guy that I do have a good amount of, thankfully, but he was a guy I went to in Houston sacks over Nico Collins, so that doesn't feel great. Nico takes a big drop down this week. Where did Nico go? Yeah, Nico, 4.4 points, puts him back at number 17. I think the usage will get better for Nico in some games, but Tank right now, Tank looks more explosive. I think Nico still looks like the big-bodied boundary stretcher that we want to see. Tank Dell looks more like Tyreek, and I think a Tyreek and a CJ Stroud offense with Stroud, a guy that was so great at creating value at every level in college, I thought would be the case here in the pros. And I think we're seeing it even earlier than I thought was possible. Kind of figured the preseason was a bad sign for Stroud, but he is looking like a world beater, and the rapport with Tank Dell, I think, is probably a little bit stronger than Nico. With Nico, it's just like he can force him the ball and he's going to make some contested catches. With Tank Dell, it's like these guys know where they're going to be. Tank Dell gets into space. Like he's a really good player, just small enough though, and kind of seems like he's close to getting hurt every game. So it's a little bit of a risk point for Tank Dell. And Michael Pittman hovering around outside the top 10. I like to see that as well. Again, best game of the year though came with AR. So people who think that Minshew is going to be the thing that drives any Pittman success this year, definitely seems like Anthony Richardson is the one that's getting him the ball a little more successfully, a little better as well. Top tight ends. This is going to be a dog shit one, huh? Well, then we'll move on to my portfolio. And of course, if you guys want to drop any victory laps in chat, let me know. I know a lot of people are bragging about their 40% advance rates. Let me know how those are holding up now, because I'm curious with all the fluidity of this week, how that's going to go. Number 1, TJ Hawkinson. Not a crazy surprise. Really just took one good week for Sam Laporta to move to number 2. So not something that I feel bad about. I have a good amount of Sam Laporta, but but it does speak to how weak tight end is so far this year, where Hunter Henry takes a big drop, still goes down to number 3. Sam Laporta has one good game, which is basically defined by one long touchdown pass. He goes to number 2. Shout out to Bindles, by the way, our guy here. Nothing like a cold brew and some Spags in the morning, some MFing Spags in the morning. Thank you for that. Bindles, of course, doing a great job. Bindles, are you streaming? Are you streaming in streams in season 2, or are you backing out there? Because it's hard to tell. Like, a lot of the best ball guys just fade into the woodwork, like the Homer Simpson meme, just go into the plants during the regular season. And I think you got to keep grinding it. It's football season. Let's keep it going. Number 4, Travis Kelce. Number 5, Evan Ingram. Number 6, Donald Parham. This really, if you want to say anything, speaks to how bad tight end is. I think the Sam Laporta at number 2 thing, I believe in the rookie tight end as much as anybody. That speaks really poorly for number 2. For number 6 here being Donald Parham, that's egregious. And Donald Parham, frankly, I'm also really mad at for scooping TDs that would have been Josh Kelly TDs. Play action to Josh Kelly goes to easy passes to Donald Parham when Josh Kelly needed anything resembling a TD to give himself a shot. Donald Parham at number 6, though, man, like that is bad. He's ahead of Kittle, ahead of Waller, elite tight end looking bad, ahead of Mark Andrews per game, though Mark Andrews, of course, did miss week 1, but a bad week 3 doesn't help out there. If there's anything that speaks to how bad tight end is, just look at Donald Parham at number 6 and go, oh, yeah, that's why late tight end made a lot of sense. At a certain point, Travis Kelce is going to put the hammer down. At a certain point, Mark Andrews will hopefully put the hammer down. Kittle, Waller, you got to think they're going to have better games. Waller, maybe less so. That Giants offense looks so bad. But this is looking pretty good for late tight ends, especially if you got the right ones. Musgrave here at 13, hovering around. That's not bad. Would love to see him be closer to Laporta Henry range, but that's not going to be helpful there. Michael Mayer has done fucking nut. Where's Michael Mayer ranked? I was going to search this for my own curiosity because I cannot imagine he's anywhere good. Oh, that's not spelled correctly. Michael Mayer, tight end 60, Michael Mayer. God, what? Baby Gronk. What happened? And not the other baby Gronk, not the one that got rizzed up by Livy. But Michael Mayer here just needs to get out there, needs to be involved. We'll see what happens this week with potentially, I guess, Brian Hoyer starting for the Raiders, maybe a faint shot of Aiden O'Connell, Jimmy Garoppolo in the concussion protocol. And the rumors and innuendos out there, by the way, if you guys haven't been following it that closely, the NFL might have a little bit of an informal rule about guys coming in and playing in a game a week after concussion now, because everybody who is sort of maybe not concussed, but kind of concussed, Anthony Richardson, Jalen Waddle, those guys, Ryan Kelly, too, the center for the Colts, was sort of concussed, but not really concussed. Those guys all did not play the week after their concussion. So that is a rumor now. And I've heard reporters say the same thing for Jimmy this week. So something to keep in mind here. If your guy gets a concussion, probably now out for that game, probably now out for the second week after. Let's see. Draft athletic tight ends. Everett week. Mayer looks down so bad, so lost in the field. Geez. I mean, Hooper's not doing anything either out there. That's the part that frustrates me. Like, I played some Hooper on the Sunday night showdown slate, and I was just watching the game closely because I'm waiting for Hooper to do anything. And he's just out there, not even running wind sprints. Like, he's running like a cone drill. He's not doing anything. So I think at a certain point, you want to see what Mayer has. Obviously for the Raiders too, like Devontae Adams is already giving some signal that he wants out if the team's not going to be good. So there's a lot of ways the Raiders situation can go weird, and I think can benefit Mayer, but it doesn't feel great right now. Absolutely. Going to start smacking my head off the desk so I can get a day off. Yeah, you get 2 weeks off if you're in the NFL, but only in the NFL offices. That's how that goes. All right, so let's talk about my advance rates. So far, well, we'll start with rookie sophomores. That's a 0. That's fine. Big board looking okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 out of 59. Oh no, it's now the Spags math time that everybody likes. So the big board I was really confident in just because I knew I got some really good player takes, some really good rookies at good draft capital. I'm at a 17% advance rate. It is a what is it? It's 3 out of 12, 25% advance rate in the big board. So once again, I said this last week, I will say it again now, and I'm going to keep saying it because I think it's really important. You can't outplayer take stacks. You just can't outplayer take stacks. Like some of these drafts, I don't think I took a lot of Achane early, so that might be part of it too. But here I have Trey, I have Trey Lance in this one, so that's not going to be the greatest. But Tua, Tyreek. So I have like good players here. Mike Williams just went off. See, Higgins has gone off a little bit. Some of these late guys, Mims gone off. So we have some good players in here, but it really is just that one thing that like I need to say it time and time again is that for me, like I really felt good about my rookie process, felt good about where I was prognosticating the rookies to go, where they were going to land, how they were going to do when they landed somewhere. And I think I got a lot of that right. But here I am with just like an under average advance rate in the big board. And it just reminds me that like, because I knew it, and I was just like, I still was like, yeah, nah, you're smarter than everybody else. You got him. And I think this is really what cements it to me that for me, as much somebody who's done as much prep as anybody out there, you guys have seen on stream, I can't outplay or take just good stacks and good teams. And I think that's the first thing that I will say for everybody, and we'll try to drill in everybody's heads more next year. This is my first big board draft, apparently. Herbert's single. So again, I didn't even get Keenan Allen in this one. I do have Josh Palmer, so that should benefit from no Mike Williams, Quentin Johnson as well. Lucked into that one with the Chargers. But really nothing too interesting here in the big board, I think. Tough to see. You can't see the point totals either, which is kind of annoying on desktop. But of course, let's go to the one that people care about. Let's go to Best Ball Mania. So Best Ball Mania, I believe I'm advancing right now 26 out of 150, which would put me slightly above average in advance rate. Feels pretty good to me. Let's look at my top teams. I'm actually not sure if I have any in the top of the leaderboard. I don't think I did as of Sunday. So we'll see. But a lot of teams scrapping, a lot of teams competing for first place. And is Best Ball Mania going to do? Is Best Ball Mania simulating right now? Am I going to embarrass the Best Ball Mania leaderboard like I have the stochastic sims multiple times? Let's exit page. Let's refresh. Nope. Okay, there we go. It's just spinning. Anytime I do a stream, I'm going to kill a product. That's just how it goes. All right, well, fuck it. Let's look at some of the teams here. So everything marked as SP, I drafted on stream here on Splash Play. Of course, Spags Stacks teams crushing. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 Spags Stacks teams advancing out of 32. So that would be, again, me doing the calculator math here. 0. Okay. 6 divided by 32. 19% advance rate for Spags Stacks. So the other side of what we talked about, the big board, just the act of stacking. And you could see here, I got a Charger stack where I got sniped on Justin Herbert. I'm in second place here. Thank God, I have Keenan Allen this one. Have terrible Garrett Wilson as well. Mike Williams, that's not going to be great. Lockett, Pickens, Sutton, Hardman. Still have some week 17 correlations. That's pretty good. But it was just the simple act of stacking up these players, stacking up these multiple QBs, even with getting sniped on Justin Herbert, who's one of the top QBs. So that is a big reminder here. Just stack up everything. It doesn't matter if you're doing it on stream. It doesn't matter if you're getting sniped. Just stack it up and let it fall where it may. You're going to do better than not. And I think that really is a big example of it. Because Spag Stacks, if you guys weren't watching during the offseason, was literally spinning a wheel and letting the wheel decide who I was going to pick that week. It wasn't me even going. Like, it wasn't me saying anything. I had no influence on it besides what I did during the draft itself. And these teams are still advancing above average. So, and honestly, the Spag Stacks team advancing higher than my own average. So if that doesn't say something there, I don't know what does. Interesting teams, perhaps. Lamar, AR, solid, unspectacular. Let's see what this looks like. 401 for this one. Lamar and AR, David Montgomery, Devon Achane. We love to see that. Jalen Warren, Jerome Ford, Tyler Algier, Chuba Hubbard. A pretty live running back room. I like that. Garrett Wilson holding this team down. Amon-Ra, Michael Pittman, Tyler Lockett, Zay Flowers, Alec Pierce, Rashid Shaheed, Hunter Renfrow. I don't even know why he's on the team. Mark Andrews, Jake Ferguson. The irony of Jake Ferguson carrying a Mark Andrews team feels pretty funny. Here are some of the head-to-heads. How many head-to-heads am I advancing right now from me and Pete? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we did 31. So I'm advancing 7 out of 31 with Pete. That'd be a 23% advance rate for me going head-to-head with Pete. So I guess the pressure of streaming a draft with Pete, as well as just like, trying to put together good teams and making sure that we're winning that might have been more valuable for me than I realized. So what is the best one here? We got a Watson Goff AR snipe. This is the one where I got sniped on AR, not the one where I stole AR from Pete. But Watson and Goff, Watson's been terrible. We're still hanging in. DeAndre Swift, Devon Achane carrying things. We got Harris, Roshan, Devin Singletary, Tyjae Spears, Jerome. Another loaded running back room. I'm feeling good, at least about the ones I'm pulling up on stream. These are not, I didn't check in advance to see which ones are good. So there we go. Devontae, Amon-Ra, Amari Cooper, Pittman, Ayuk, Kadarius Toney's got to have better days. Cedric Tillman, a total non-factor. And then Laporta, number 2 tight end, Luke Schoonmaker. So that is an interesting team as well. And then Pete is in number 2. So right now we are advancing. For everybody that was tracking to say will there be any team or any draft rather that Pete and I both advance out of that pod? We got at least one, and that was on the first one I'm looking up here. Let's look at this one with Pete. Oh, this one too. Pete's in first. Let's look at Pete's team. Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, Devon Achane, Roshan Johnson, Jerome Ford. That is a good room for Pete if Taylor comes back to the Colts in his full go. He does lose Mike Williams here. That's not great. Michael Pittman, Jordan Addison. His wide receiver room is not the best. Feels like the wide receiver room is hanging on by a little bit. But still, great running backs. Absolutely great running backs. My team in this draft, Cousins, Love, Madison, Sanders, Dillon, Mostert, Spears, Chase Brown. Chase Brown, I feel like Mixon had a couple okay runs yesterday, but Chase Brown, I still think very much alive for the home stretch. Oh, there we go. I have one team in the top 10,000, 4. All right, which one is that? Let's see if I can find it on my phone and we can pull that up. 444 feels like good luck, right? Gotta be. You'd hope. Live NFL. Sorry, this is not. I wish they would show scores on desktop, but unfortunately they don't. So this is why I have to look at my phone. I'm not just texting my cool friends and talking shit about you guys. All right. So, it was the Watson Goff AR snipe is in fact my top scoring team. So there we go. That is the one that's looking the best. Any other interesting ones? What's my worst team here? Got a couple of 11s, actually a disgusting amount of 11s. So it feels like there are a few that we struck out on. There's this one that's a head-to-head. So Pete's in at number 6 here. I am down at the bottom at number 10. What is this 10th ranked team? Watson, Love, Nick Chubb, Damian Pierce. Damian Pierce looking pretty busty so far, not in the good way. Tyler Algier, Jeff Wilson, Gus Edwards, AJ Brown, Judy, Watson. So anyway, point being, for me to have an above average advance rate, given how bad Christian Watson has been in terms of just putting up points, obviously he hasn't played yet. That feels pretty good to me. The fact that I don't have Keenan Allen now feels pretty good to me. The fact that I'm just at the field level at 8% on Raheem Mostert, I believe, feels pretty good to me too. So really, these are the things that I would look at if you're looking at your own portfolio at home. Is like, how am I doing right now? Am I at or around average? And who are the guys who are really driving my success? And it's not the popular guys. It's not the top 3 guys for me. So I think I'm in good position, but obviously this is a 17-week war. We are heading into week 4. Long way to go for all that. Yeah, that's me, Rob. I'm just ruining every single one bit by bit. All right, there's the leaderboard. Oh, now you can confirm. Let's see me up here. I think Pete's probably got more, right? Oh no, this is locked up too. All right, never mind. We won't look at the big board, but you got it. I'm in here. Look up Chris Spags. You'll find me. All right, let's go to my contest on DraftKings. Whew. DraftKings, by the way, depressing as hell yesterday for me. I got so smoked on that slate. Legit $700 is going by yesterday, which, it's been a long week for your old pal Spags, but to get dusted like that in a 2-game slate made me feel I'm so sad. That's why I'm glad we're doing this best ball show on Tuesdays, because it is very depressing sometimes when these are not going well. But here are my best ball teams. So where are we? Oh, you can't even see which ones are cashing. This is not going to be the most helpful. Let's look at my top scorer. So I am advancing. I did the math before the show. Advancing, I think, 27% on DraftKings because I had just shy of 40 teams advancing there. So that was why all offseason, like, again, we love Underdog. Underdog is a great site. They're a great partner. I love everything about it. The product's better, all that shit. The reason you draft on DraftKings is because you're build some sick teams and you have 20 rounds to do it. So that is why you draft on DraftKings. My advance rate much higher on DraftKings right now. The final format's much tougher, but I feel really good about my DraftKings teams. Here is one that we can look at right now. Tua, Devon Achane, Jerome Ford, Tyreek Hill, Amari Cooper, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Hill, Cooper, and St. Brown feels like a really sick team. Laporta, Miles Sanders putting in a useful game. We've got Goff, Judy, Rashee Rice, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Roshan Johnson, Devontae Smith. I have Devontae Smith on the team somehow too. This team is fucking loaded. Durham Smythe, who fucking chalk bust Durham Smythe, Dalton Kincaid, David Montgomery, Rashad Penny. So even with pretty big misses right now with Penny and Marvin Jones, this team is tremendous. I mean, this is a lot of points, man. I have 70 points more than number 2, and this is 480. So that is looking pretty good on that one. Clout though on DraftKings not as high. That's fair. I mean, I think it's also like Felix, great guy who won it a couple years ago, but he's not like a media guy or anything. So I think, if I win DraftKings, I'll be Mr. fucking DraftKings. I'll wear my DraftKings hat. I'll put it on every day and I'll be like, hey, Jason Robbins, why don't we do some evil things to other fantasy providers? That's what we're going to do if I win on DraftKings, but I don't care where the $1 million comes from. As long as I could say best ball Millie winner, fucking who cares? Well, we would not catch Corain though in that particular configuration, unless I had 2 finished up top, I guess. My number 2 team here, 527. I think these are good scores by DraftKings. Of course, there's not an overall leaderboard. This guy's got 570. What's his team? 570 team, Jimmy Garoppolo, Raheem Mostert, Christian McCaffrey, Adam Thielen, Tank Dell, loaded team. Team that feels like it'll fade a little bit because of Thielen, Dell, Mostert, but definitely looking pretty good. TJ Hawkinson, Jerome Ford, Cortland Sutton. So this is what a number one team looks like. Has Puka as well. Puka going to help out quite a bit. And then some sleeping giants in here too, like McLaurin, T. Higgins. You got Josh Kelly, got the one good week for him. Waddle. This is a sick team. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how my team beats this one, but we'll see what mine is. Lamar, Devon Achane. Again, I have so much Achane on DraftKings that he is really pulling a lot of weight for me, and I'm happy to draft him. I'm actually curious what you guys would say this, because I did see Davis Maddock tweet it. If you knew that Devon Achane was going to give you one 50-point week, and you don't know anything else about his year, do you draft him? Or like, where do you draft him? And do you draft him? I think you do draft him. I don't know where he goes, but I would guess that 150-point week was probably worth like a top 60 pick. So you got to feel good about getting this 50-point week for a guy that a lot of us drafted 110s to 140s, even if you were like me and you bought the dips whenever they were oh no, Jonathan Taylor's going to come. Oh no, Jeff Wilson's going to supplant him. Oh no. Like there were a lot of oh no's for Miami this offseason, but I think if you just kind of rode the tide with Achane, you got some good values on him, and I feel good about it, even though I certainly don't expect 50-point weeks to have him again. I'd have 100% Achane in weekly winners if I knew. Well, yeah, in weekly winners, absolutely. For best ball, it's tough because like I think 150-point week basically justifies that roster spot entirely. But if he gives you 5 to 10 for most of the year, like let's say Jeff Wilson comes back and they're just rotating Mostert, Wilson, and Achane together, I don't know how you do that. I think that's the kind of thing that it doesn't feel like the Dolphins would do. And certainly Mostert and Wilson, two guys that have been banged up many times in the past. But I think Achane is, I might be underselling it by saying a top 60 pick. Because the fluidity of that, as well as just the upside of what he can do the other games after putting up 150-point game, I think Achane is looking like the steal of the draft right now. And one guy that if you were fading him for some reason, I think you probably have to have some pretty big pangs of regret for, though it doesn't really matter. Like you can fade Achane if your team survives without Achane. If he has another, 3 to 5 big weeks out of the course of this year, you're probably going to be more unique, because I can tell you Achane is driving a lot of my teams right now. Best DK team is 566, but that's JK and Mike Will. So sad. That's brutal. That's definitely brutal. CLN has 6 teams in the top 10K. All right, there you go. CLN was one of the guys who's advancing a ton last week, so hopefully that's going well for him. Achane to top 5 rounds easily. The rest of the running backs around him, nada. Yeah, I mean, if you're talking Achane or Miles Sanders, Achane or Dameon Pierce, Achane or... Also, I'm getting really good at saying Achane, so really flowing off the tongue. Yeah, Achane, I think, would be... that seems fair. Dead zone back, still probably behind the Breeses of the world, I think would feel about right. But yeah, I think Achane to me just has already paid off his ADP by just giving you one usable game. So that feels pretty good. Wow, 600-point team, but up 273. That is nutso. That is good for Spurious. Again, I'll say it even, mostly to remind myself too. It's a war of attrition, 17 weeks. We just got to get these little turtles have to get to shore. That's all it takes overall. But right now, I think I feel good about my portfolio. I think even with, my advance rate being just a little bit above average on Underdog, and obviously we're smashing a little bit on DK, I feel like the teams, though, are not ones that are carried by flukes besides the Achane big game. They're carried by good construction. They're carried by stacks. They're carried by, outlier performances there. So that all feels pretty good. Let's see my worst team. And also shout out to Spurious, because Spurious is beating my top team. I think everybody in the chat's beating my top team that I felt so good about. My bottom team. Let's see where that is. Oh boy. I hate when you have to keep scrolling. I was like, oh, my bottom team is 492. That wouldn't be that bad. Bottom team at 318.56. In the 12 hole. Oh, I didn't have any QB points in week 2. So AR at QB, Pacheco, Jalen Warren, Michael Pittman, Josh Downs. Still got a stack though. Zay Flowers, Hayden Hurst. Ooh, that's the bad side of the late tight ends. Hayden Hurst, Terry McLaurin, Terrace Marshall, Alec Pierce, Zach Charbonnet, Breece Hall. Where? Breece Hall. Come on. Juba Hubbard, Dalton Schultz, Kadarius Toney, Cooper Kupp, Waddle, Chubb, Young, Woods. Yeah, this one might not have much of a shot, though. Kupp and Waddle will get back in. We'll have some good days. Honestly, this could have been worse. I don't feel good about this team. I don't think it's great or anything, but I feel okay about it. And then I don't know what this screen is. The screen is just the team that I had up, I guess. Dak, Swift. This must have been one from last week. So this one's still holding up at number one. So good to know. Good to know this team is holding up at number one. Good combo, Holly. I have a team with Achane carrying Eckler till he comes back. Feel good about that hero RB build. Yeah, Eckler, I think the one thing you take away from Eckler is that his usage is just so much better than what we're getting from Josh Kelly. The check downs being there especially. It does feel like his presence kind of makes the offense less explosive, which I don't love. But without Mike Williams out there especially, like you're just going to see more volume going Eckler's way. We'll see if Eckler goes, though, because Eckler says he wants to play this week. If he doesn't play this week, then he would be out this week, and then their bye is next week. So you could potentially have another 2 weeks without Eckler, which would not be great for a guy you drafted at highly. But in terms of just getting there, like, yeah, for a team like Holly's here, you want to have a running back who can carry and backfill for your stud running back. And certainly going against Denver in week 17 for the Chargers could be explosive if the Chargers are still in competition and all that. The Chargers really, I think the Chargers should be 0-3, which is baffling because they are so good. But there we go. On drafters, let's look at drafters. My top team here was top 300 last week. We fell down a bit to 620, but still $200 would be pretty solid if we finished around here. The team, Josh Allen and Tua. We do have Achane. Oh, shit. I have Achane and Kyron on this team. So that's all right. So we got something cooking on drafters, I think, at least in terms of spike weeks. Tyreek Hill, Devontae Smith, bad week for Devontae. Really, that's the one too for yesterday's video. I hate, like, this is why I hate putting a player in a thumbnail and putting in a take, because it's like, for me, like, Devontae was the right play game theory-wise going into yesterday with the narrative around A.J. Brown and all of that. And I still built a team on stream that had A.J. Brown and Devontae together. But then, like, Devontae goes out and he just has a mid-game, and Olamide Zaccheaus has a touchdown. It clearly was a Devontae Smith kind of touchdown. So that hurt a little bit. But Pittman, Sky Moore outperforming. Zay Jones is hurt. Alec Pierce looking a little duddy so far, not showing the upside that I hoped he would have. Jalen Hyatt, I think, could have some better weeks. This Thursday night was really bad for him. Really just wanted to see him get some routes to maybe explosive and open something up and out there. But Hyatt, I think, if the Giants are going to take one thing away from Thursday night, it was that they don't have the weapons to really create an aggressive downfield offense, and Jalen Hyatt is that weapon. So hopefully he gets some more usage going forward. Marshall, Hawkinson, Kincaid, and of course our skeleton key, Taysom Hill, who's not been too skeleton key-ish. And my worst drafters team, we'll look at it. I'll also look at Piss Boy Pete, who tweeted me this weekend. It was like, yeah, I have a joke named team about Pete Overzet that's finishing top one on drafters. And I think he actually might have signed up with the Splash Play promo code. So shout out to all you guys. By the way, I have to give you guys your flowers for that. I did talk with drafters. We converted 35 new signups, and then 46 of you guys also redeposited and use this the other promo code. So shout out to you guys. You made us look good. So thank you for that. I appreciate that support a lot there for all of you guys coming out and showing out on drafters. So my bad team here, Deshaun, Goff, Chubb is gone. That sucks. Gibbs, Javonte, Warren, Singletary. This team looking a little rough. Amon-Ra, Cooper, Judy, Elijah Moore, who I don't like very much. Just looking for that Watson stack, but he looks okay on the year. Alan Lazard, Jameson Williams, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Trey Palmer, Josh Reynolds, and Njoku. Hunter Henry. This team sucks with Hunter Henry. That's tough. Taysom Hill. Let's look at Piss Boy Pete. See what he's got that's in first place. Tua, Kenny Pickett, and Howell. So 3 QB build looking pretty good. No elite QB. Something to keep in mind perhaps for next year on drafters. When kickbacks, it wasn't as much money as it should have been, Tyler. I'll tell you what, because of the redeposit thing, it's not worth it. But great guys over at drafters, but there's a little bit of a misunderstanding about the redeposit bonus that might not result in affiliate fees on that. But we'll figure it out. Drafters, good people over there, but they should be bringing fucking bags. I agree with that level of influence, and for the Squirt Squad showing up, I agree. All right, we got Connor, Brian Robinson, Jerick McKinnon, Tyler Algier. This team really doesn't wow you if you go through it, but obviously it's finishing in first, so kudos to him. Got Mostert, doesn't even have Achane, so that's pretty impressive that he's hanging in there without Achane. Tyreek, Chris Olave, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Pickens, Samuel, Woods, Mac Hollins, Freiermuth, Hunter Henry, Cade Otton. So this is like, no disrespect to Piss Boy Pete. Great name. If you use the promo code, more power to him. This is like just a team. This is just a team. It's like a good team. I'm not going to nickel and dime the team in first place with 585 points. But this is like a team you could have built. So I think if anything, this does speak to drafters, perhaps having a little bit of an advantage there just in terms of being 17 weeks of point scoring and all of that. And yeah, that's sort of what I'm seeing as we go through. A team could fall apart in the second half of the season. That's how I'm feeling about it. When you have Keenan, like a little fragility here with Mostert, with Keenan, with Connor, with Walker perhaps losing snaps to Charbonnet. But in particular, like, again, if your teams are being driven right now by Allen and Mostert, Those are the ones that I would feel like pretty fragile just because those guys have been such outliers. Again, Mostert number 1 on the year, Keenan Allen number 3 on the year, overall scoring. And that's in half-point PPR, so not on drafter scoring. The point being, though, like if you're being carried by the highest of highest outliers, I think that gets a little bit rough, but I guess you could say the same for me and Achane. So there we go. Anything you guys want a victory lap in chat? I feel like we've covered you guys' stuff pretty well there. You don't peak too soon, boys. in Segs and BBL and BBL and in Brazilian butt lifts. Don't peak too early. All right, guys. So there was your best ball review show. So I guess my takeaways from best ball so far would be, I do think that Zero RB looks very live, and that was one of my biggest stands of the offseason. So I feel good about that. And I think really, so far, just having volume at running back seems like the main thing. And I kind of said that I just didn't like hyper fragile builds this year. And I, in general, don't love hyper fragile builds at running back. But I think that just getting 6 guys in the room, anytime you can get 6 guys in a room, just see what shakes out. You got to do that. But getting 6 running backs in the room, I think really was the main thing here, because you've had to fight off injuries to top running backs. You have to fight off late running backs not getting a role to start the year. You've had to fight off all these kind of things. Just having, Swiss Army knife of guys who can give you some amount of points feels like the main thing keeping teams together. So that would be my one biggest takeaway. Number 2 would be just fucking stacking. Like I know that there were so many people in the offseason who I saw not so much in our community, not so much in the chat, but especially on social media, where they're like, if everybody's stacking, why am I stacking? I'm going to be chopping it up with a bunch of people. And it's like, no, in best ball, you have so many different ways to get unique. So don't forget to stack. No matter what you're doing, just stack it up and give yourself some options, give yourself some outs. That's a really big thing. And then number 3 would be the QB, running back, receiver stacking. That's paying off doubly for Miami in particular with Achane and Mostert. I still think that handcuffing/hand-cucking running backs was not the move, even though you can victory lap that for 1 week. But if you are sort of doing that, where you have the QB, the running back, a receiver, maybe another receiver and a tight end, those builds, if you got that offense right, they're going to look pretty good. Going to look really bad if you stack the wrong offense, if you stack the Steelers, if you stacked Carolina, I guess, though Carolina looking okay. But if you stack the wrong teams, it's going to look pretty bad. But if you stack the right teams, those teams look supercharged and they look like they are live to go through, because frankly, this Miami Dolphins team, I don't think they can get figured out. I just don't believe that. And I think if they were going to get figured out, it would have been what happened at the end of last year going into this year. And now what they're putting on tape is so varied and so unique. And like you can see, the Broncos were just not even remotely ready for it. I think that's going to be the case with, diminishing returns as the season goes on. But still, like if you have Dolphins alpha stacks, even if it is Mostert, I do think Mostert comes down. But Dolphins alpha stacks, I feel like gonna feel like a thing that is terrifying throughout the year. And Chargers alpha stacks, I think, going down a little bit just because of the injuries, and then a lot of those teams are gonna have a dead Mike Williams roster spot. So there we go, guys, and hope you enjoy the new graphics. Again, I'm playing around on Canvas, so go check out Probably. I can point to this. This is a pretty good point. Win more on your bets. Go to probably.com. That's my baby. I spent a lot of time on it. It is still free, and actually we reached a decision within the last couple of days where when we turn on the paywall, the Probably scores are still going to be free. So you can always find out what the expected value of a bet is according to our metrics. Basically, what we do is we comb the top sportsbooks around the world and find the true probability of every single bet. So that's going to be free forever. And what we're going to do is the sales, the paywall will be, you could sort by profitability if you pay the $20 a month or the $50 a month for in-game live data. So I'm excited about that. I think that was something where we've kind of battled about it. We're gonna paywall the entire expected value calculations. Basically, you can just keep scrolling through and get that for free in perpetuity. So I think that'll be a thing that helps people with betting, and I think it'll be a thing that, based on what we've seen so far, that you guys will hopefully resonate with. So check that out, probably.com, and get on our mailing list as well at probablyapp.com. And of course, follow me at Chris Spags, follow the show at Splash Play Pod, and come back tomorrow. The Spags rankings, baby. I'm excited. Spags rankings tomorrow. Been a video that we've been making a lot of new friends with. We're going to come in. We're going to rank every single fucking player, every single one. The video might be 2.5 hours. It doesn't matter. I rank every single one according to who's a superior player, who's in a great spot, and who's just mid. We're going to find out tomorrow. But thanks for hanging out, guys. Shouts to the chat. And of course, please do hit that old subscribe before you go. Hit the like button. Leave a comment if you're watching after the fact. Go best ball, go. Oh, shit. I dropped the football. Fumble. Time to go. Oh, no. All right, anybody who hung on for that one, I hope that was worth it. Hope the little micro earthquake made it worthwhile. Enjoy your weeks, guys. See you tomorrow. Good luck. Bye.